Hi everybody, RJ here with Netra Labs. In this video, we're going to be going over Autoverse mode. Autoverse mode is a unique mode that Kate operates in that she will autonomously generate a workflow based upon the command and parameters plus the data that's given. But that workflow can also be edited by you if you so choose. So in this video, I'm going to be going over a bit of high level of what are the potential use cases for Kate, how this mode works, and how you would set this up on the wizard. I'm not going to be going over things like how to sign up or how the API key works and so on. Please refer to the other videos for those. So getting started with Autoverse mode, when you go and you're setting up the wizard, first, yes, want to use your API key. I'm going to use the previous one. I don't need to worry about the Gmail coming from my own personal, so I'll just skip that. Let's get to step two, where it's the quality data. So let's kind of talk about, fundamentally how Autoverse works and how the data you provide will work for your use case. So in Autoverse mode, she'll generate a workflow based on the data and the command you give her. That command being, I want you to be a XYZ and do ABC. And in Autoverse, you're able to edit that particular workflow. That's the only mode currently where you're able to edit the workflow she generates. In every other mode, the workflow that she generates will either be not editable, like in multiverse mode, or you won't even be able to actually see it as a pre-configured workflow. Things like Universe and Socialverse and Dataverse, those have pre-configured commands, and so it just kind of it doesn't limit, but it keeps the scope around what it is that you can do to interact with. So in Autoverse, this is really a mode where you are going to see agents being built around things like customer support or sales support. And the reasoning why is because in this mode, she will follow a workflow, whatever workflow you want her to follow that she comes up with. But she also, in this mode, will not reference any data or any responses outside of the corpus of data provided. And that's a form of hallucination management that we have in the Autoverse mode. So, fundamentally, those are kind of some of the ways that she operates in this mode from a data perspective. In terms of, well, what data do I upload? That's always going to be dependent upon the use case. And it's just a lot better to kind of explain why the data you're providing is part of the role and the task that you want her to do. In other words, they should be relevant. If I want to build a customer support agent, I'm not going to provide that customer support agent with a bunch of, let's say, math material. I'm probably going to want to provide it on information about whatever product or services I want that agent to be, providing that support on. So in this example of, well, what data do I want to upload for this use case? I'm going to keep it very simple. And then I'm going to upload a Tesla manual. And let me just pull that up here. This Tesla manual. Now, why a Tesla manual? I just want you to think, just from a more broad perspective, that I want an agent that's able to provide support. Now, imagine I'm Elon Musk and I want to build a support agent that I can, use on my website or my, my phone to send out messages, what have you. But he wanted an agent specifically for the Model X. Well, one of the key pieces of data that I'd probably want to provide this agent is probably the Model X car manual, because that's going to have a lot of structured and detailed information that would be relevant to a customer support agent, such as the towing capacity. If somebody says, hey, I'm really thinking of buying a Model X, but I have a trailer, is this able to tow it? You want them to be able to look and be able to respond to that, saying, well, it kind of depends on what's the size and the amount that you're holding. So I don't want you to limit it to just the manual. The point is that you want to provide structured, relevant data to our use case. And you don't even have to use a file like this. You can create your own corpus, your own text document or Word document about your product or services that you want. We also have an ability where you can download this web scraper that we have and extract all the data from your website. Your website has a structure to it. So that's obviously going to be a good place if you have your product or services on a website. You want to use that probably as well for your agent. I just don't want you to think it has to be limited to just any one file or any one thing. This is really something where we really want you to kind of experiment. So in this example, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to upload that manual. So I'm just going to select that, upload that data, and it's going to upload the file, and then If I'm good with all of the data for this, then I'm going to move forward. And please refer to the video where I go over just step 2, talking about the requirements and so on. But there is a limit on the amount or how large of a file you can process, and characters and so on. So please reference that video. But in this example, if I want to create a support agent very quickly for Tesla and the Model X, I'm going to use this car manual. So go ahead and process that. This is where it's going to put in those embeddings, where it's going to be able to answer and synthesize, very complex questions that is going to be relevant for a support agent. So going to step 3, again, these fields, the business focus, the personality, the temperature, are always going to be required no matter what mode you operate in. But again, we're specifically focusing on Autoverse, and in this one, you're able to do a couple of different things that you cannot in the other ones. So for the business focus, because I'm what I'm trying to provide is a customer support agent for the Tesla Model X, I'm going to keep it simple and say, well, that is my business focus. But this will always change depending on the data you're giving and the use case that you have. If you're building something around customer support, sales support, yes, just make sure that it's framed as whatever is the entity is, right? So, if my company information, or, company names information. So Netra Labs company information. The personality is really going to be more of communication style. If it's something is going to be customer facing, you probably want them to be, consultative or friendly, and let's say detail oriented. On Autoverse, remember, this is one of the modes where you can input a command, the only other being multiverse. The difference between these two is in multiverse, you cannot edit the workflow. So in Autoverse, this is again something where we want you to experiment, but I will say that you should keep the command to one sentence. That's just how we built this out, as we didn't want to, somebody to have to become an expert in prompting to be able to utilize this. We wanted to keep it simple, so just keep it, it's okay if it's detailed, but just try and keep it to one sentence. So I'm going to say, you are a customer support agent. And I don't even have to say for Tesla. It'll know that based off the business focus and data given. So I'm going to say customer support agent who can answer customer questions, resolve issues, and escalate to a human representative if the issue can't be resolved. So again, you could experiment with the command, but in the structure of it is I want to kind of give it very clear what are the types of tasks it'll be responsible for based on this use case. So we know it's going to be answering questions and resolving issues, meaning that it may not be a simple yes, no. The escalating to a human is just basically saying that, hey, if all else fails, if you're not able to, I want you to have, do this event, which, because Kate has access to tools, and in Autoverse, the tools that she has access to is email as well as calendar invites. You can, say if it doesn't get resolved, email this person, or just say send a calendar invite, to the user from the email that we have in here. So in that command, now I'm going to go to temperature. This one is really something we're still experimenting with it, but what I'll say, at least in the simplest way, is the closer you are to 0, the less likely it is to answer or hallucinate on things that it's not sure of, but it's also less likely to synthesize more types of answers. So for example, if a customer support agent, I ask a very detailed, complex question, if I have a higher temperature, we found that it's more likely to be able to synthesize the correct answer when validated versus if you had a lower temperature. But, if it's something that's not customer facing, where I'm just using it for my own creativity, I always love using a higher temperature. So in Autoverse mode, this is the unique one where you could generate the workflow and view it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, generate that workflow. It'll take, let's say 20 to 30 seconds, depending on the amount of data you have, the command given, and so on. But what Kate is doing currently is determining, based off of how you told her to look at the data, meaning the business focus, the command given, as well as the data that was provided, how should she create a workflow that this agent follows. And you'll see, if you look at it, it's a pretty good workflow. So greet the customer and ask how you can assist them today. Listen to the customer's issue or question. If the issue or question is something you can handle, provide the necessary information or solution. For example, if they ask about tire composition, you could provide with them the information about tire composition, maximum load, and maximum permissible inflation pressure. So again, this is her recognizing that the data provided was a Tesla Model X manual. I told her to be a customer support agent with a focus on a Model X. she's going to assume that role. And because it has this information on the document about tire pressure and so on, this is just how she's interpreting that data. And how you see this here as well, escalate the issue to a human representative if it's not able to be resolved. This is her intelligently following that workflow. And this is something where it's not just linear. If you were to start the conversation and jump directly into a very detailed question, she's not going to just, kind of error out. She'll intelligently go back and forth depending on where you're at in a conversation. So I really like that workflow. If you don't, you're always able to download the workflow example that we have here and fill out your own steps. We give 2 different examples. What we'll say is when you do save this, make sure that it's saved with that involved. The steps given below in a chronological order, steps, and then whatever the steps are. You can delete this one. It was just one we wanted to show how it could be work for different ones. But normally the workflow provided is going to be pretty ideal, but you have that capability for now. So once I have that done, now I can go ahead and I can click on chat. This is going to deploy our agent. Now, right now, this agent is deployed in our environment, right? And I'll show in a moment how, if I have a website or I want to use this for my business, I don't want my customers coming, obviously, to my KO website. I want them to interact with this on mine. Show you how to get there in a minute, but I do want to just show you kind of, what those configurations and stuff allow us to do. So in this example, I'm going to say, I just bought a Model X, but I didn't think about how much it can handle towing. I have a trailer that weighs about 4,000 pounds. Is it going to be able to handle it? And I want to use this type of language. This is how actual users interact, where it's not so formal. And this is the difference between just regular chatbots and ones that are empowered by these large language models. It's the natural language understanding of these large language models are transferred over for these purposes. So, if you were to build a regular chatbot that was doing this, that would probably take to code specifically for those. That could take quite a while. So, and you see here, hi there, congratulations on your new Model X purchase. According to this, the Model X's towing capacity depends on the wheel rim size. If you have this, it's up to 5,000. If that, then it's up to 35. So if it's that, if your Model X is the first one, it should be able to tow your 4,000 pound trailer. And then you'll see that this is the other difference between these agents is where that they will ask questions to help get to a resolved answer. But just to, again, clarify this, you'll see here, yes, if it's a 275 wheel rim, it can handle 5,000 pounds, 285, 3,500. Those are some of the things that are unique in how these agents respond, without you having to do any type of configuration. Something else that I find unique is, when it says here, please remember to use the suspension setting appropriately to match the trailer. And additionally, if your trailer weighs over 1,000 pounds, Tesla recommends equipping with it with a brake system adequate for the weight of the trailer. That is extra information that if you were doing this, you were coding this, that's not something that you would be able to, there would be so many variations that you would have to map to that. Whereas you can see here where she's, recommending this from. But again, it's not something that I specifically, told her to do. And I think that's where the real value with these types of tools are going to come into play, is that they're able to do things without having to be specifically prompted or directed, because again, of that natural language understanding and that transfer learning that you're really taking advantage of with these admittedly state-of-the-art models. She is voice activated, so I mentioned that before, and if you please look at the video where we talk about the chats and the tools, so I'll go in more in depth with that. But in Autoverse mode, she has access to email as well as calendar invites, and you can utilize that for your agent. Now, what do you want? Now, what is it if you want to embed this on a website? That's where go ahead and click embed, copy that. And what I did is just created a simple site, this is on a Google site, it's a free site, but the concept will still stay the same in that, Kate will pop up here. And if I, was to click publish, let's just put that. And, if you have a GoDaddy site or anything like that, you'll be able to, they'll always have that embed functionality in that block that you could put in there. Or of course, if you have a custom website, just putting that into the code. But you'll see that instance that you have saved there will now run on whatever other medium that you're currently utilizing. And she still does have the voice activation features in this and all the other features that you would see from this side. So that's how you can go and embed that within your website. So as it relates to this particular use case, and this video is already pretty long. I think I'm going to stop here. I just want to kind of reiterate that Autoverse is definitely going to be one of those foundational modes that you're going to be utilizing, especially if you're going to be utilizing this in your business. The hallucination management and the ability to where it will not reference outside of the data is very important. And actually, before that, let me show you an example of that. So remember, I provided a Tesla Model X information. Well, what happens if I, just say, okay, you know what? I bought that Tesla Model X, but now I hate it. I really want the BMW i3. Tell me why I should buy it. This is where you're going to see the hallucination management framework come into play, where we've configured in her chains to not reference data in this mode, reference any responses outside of the data provided. So you'll see that she doesn't error out or anything. She very respectfully says, "I'm sorry, but as a representative for Tesla Model X, I can't provide you with the reasons to purchase a BMW i3. My main focus is to provide information and assistance related to that. However, I can certainly highlight some of the unique features and advantages of owning a Tesla Model X. Would you like to hear more about that?" Which this is that type of capability, which again, if you were coding this would take quite a while. So I wanted to showcase a bit of that hallucination management. Only mode currently actually that will provide responses based on data outside of the corpus provided is multiverse. And that's really our most experimental mode currently. And that's usually a mode we like to use more for creativity, competitive analysis, those types of things is where multiverse mode really helps out. I hope that this was helpful in giving some context in terms of how Autoverse works, how how you can configure your agent, and really just get these up and going and experimenting. And I think that that's a really key point, is to experiment, because I know that in a month or two, I'm going to have an update video that is going to basically say, hey, a lot of these things that I thought, this is probably the better way of doing it. And I really recommend anybody to experiment, try these out, go into our Discord, tell us what you find, give us recommendations, updates, all of that. But we feel that this is a solid foundation that we're going to be able to build something truly valuable for businesses on. So I'm going to stop here. Hopefully that made sense, and look forward to speaking to you all again in the next video. Thank you.